Assalamu alaikum. This is Hasan Zafar. We're talking politics. We have a very important guest with us today, the eminent scholar Sheikh Imran Hussain Sahab is joining us. He studied at Karachi University and he is the author of Jerusalem in the Quran, an Islamic view of the destiny of Jerusalem. Sheikh Sahab also talks about world politics, economics, modern social, economic, and political issues. So let's welcome Sheikh Saab to Talking Politics. Thank you very much, Sheikh Saab, for joining us.
You're most welcome. I'm honored to be again in contact with someone connected with Captain Dan Haley, who I met. He traveled from Pakistan to Malaysia last summer, and I had the honor to meet with him and to engage with him on discussions and do some recordings on 9/11. Yeah, and I'm happy to rejoin the subject today.
So let's start talking about the current issue, and then we can go back to 9/11 as we move forward.
By all means, please.
Because current issues are quite pressing, and they are impacting not only the region, our lives, as we experience it on a daily basis. I've heard you talking about Iran-Israel conflict. And I have heard you talking about Pakistan as well, Pakistan and India situation over Kashmir. What is really astounding for me that there is a deep philosophy at work which connects these two issues on a theological basis. One is the notion of Ghazwa-e-Hind in the minds of the Indians, which they have been repeatedly talking about, that the Muslims in Pakistan, they are preparing for Ghazwa-e-Hind. And more recently, I heard the Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying when he was the senator, not the Secretary of State as yet, that the Muslims at large, they are waiting for the coming of Hazrat Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and they have a futuristic view of Armageddon. So this is what I think apparently is a connection between how the Indians are looking at Pakistanis and how the Israelis are looking at the Iranians. And I would like to have your take on it.
Well, first of all, you have touched on several different subjects, and an attempt to combine them all into one harmonious whole is almost impossible. I prefer to deal with them separately and to then attempt to locate that which connects some of them together. And if we are to begin with the latest news and the Israeli attack on Iran, it was not surprising. It was publicly announced in advance. It was in manifest violation of international law and of the Charter of the United Nations. Israel didn't care two fig leaves about international law and about the Charter of the United Nations, and nor did the United States of America. This is something new in contemporary international affairs. A public repudiation of international law, a public repudiation of obligations under the Charter of the United Nations Charter. And I have responded to this from an Islamic eschatological perspective. to say this is what I anticipated 25 years ago when I wrote Jerusalem in the Quran. And I turned to the Quran, and I turned to the hadith of the Prophet, Allah's blessing be upon him, in order to deconstruct events unfolding in international affairs. I said that Pax Britannica did not fall from the sky by accident. I said that there was a rationale behind it, there was an explanation behind it, that from modern Western civilization, we're not talking about Pax Romana, we're talking about modern Western civilization and an explanation of its origin and its role from the perspective of Islamic eschatology, which no other scholar has done so far, not even Dr. Iqbal. I said that Pax Britannica came into being because of the objective of eventually, the Zionist objective of eventually establishing a state in Jerusalem which would seek to replicate the holy state of Israel created by David and by Solomon, Allah's blessings be upon him, holy Israel. And that this holy state would become a ruling state in the world. No one has contradicted me in Islamic scholarship since then, but no one has also validated me. They've just remained in, excuse my language, stupefied silence. That is the response of contemporary Islamic scholarship, including Pakistani Islamic scholarship. I am sad to speak these words about my contemporaries, but I am tired and I am frustrated after all these years of scholarly work, a scholarship that I inherited from my teacher, my distinguished teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, who inherited it from Dr. Iqbal. So I'm a third generation from Dr. Iqbal in anticipating an Islamic eschatological explanation, which I did in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran, published 25 years ago, that a Pax Americana would give way to a Pax Britannica, a Pax Britannica would eventually give way to a Pax Americana, which happened at Bretton Woods. And that these two were meant to prepare the way for a Pax Judaica, and that is what I now see, the evidence for the first time. That the way Israel has attacked Iran has written all over it the emergence of Pax Judaica. My critics don't even understand what I'm talking about in terms of international politics, far less to respond to it. Now then, if I am correct that this is the primary implication of the method in which Israel has attacked Iran, we can expect that Israel and the United States and Britain and the West will continue to attack Iran until they are convinced that Israel faces no threat from Iran.
So that is where we are. And they have no intentions of stopping their assault on the innocent people of Gaza. That is what we see on a daily basis.
The attack on Gaza is yet another example of the conduct of a state which does not care for international opinion, does not care for international law, does not care for international humanitarian law. Only when they feel that they're being embarrassed to an extent that it's dangerous for them, only then will they respond as they did in South Africa to dismantle the apartheid regime. Otherwise, they don't mind being embarrassed. What is now necessary for us to do is if you recognize that my Islamic eschatological response to Israel's attack on Iran is correct, then we can close our eyes and anticipate that Modi's India is going to be a strategic ally of Israel in not only neutralizing Iran, but also neutralizing Pakistan.
Right. But apparently, Iran is maintaining a decent diplomatic relations with India, despite all the news that we hear about Indian spies caught inside Iran, and they were working alongside Mossad. But apparently, we have at least a semblance of uh, friendly relations or decent relations between Iran and India at the moment.
Not only is Iran blindsided on the issue of the potential threat from India to Iran, as well as to Pakistan and to the world of Islam, but even more pathetically so is the blindsidedness of Russia on the subject. And I spent 2 hours at a dinner with a small group of people with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And in that dinner, I'm happy to report that when I opened up the subject of the Quran and Russia, the minister was so fascinated by the subject that he asked me to write on the subject, which I have written. And the book, The Quran and Russia's Destiny, is now published. And we've had it published in Pakistan as well, just recently. And it's now available, I think, will be only 1,000 rupees per copy in Pakistan. So the book is now available in Pakistan. But while I was having dinner with the foreign minister, it was very clear to me that the minister was totally innocent of the potentials of India's alliance with Israel. If the Russians are aware of it, it has not been convenient for them to touch upon the subject so far. Not only has Iran showed blindsidedness in its relations with India so far, except for Ayatollah Khamenei's denunciation of Indian oppression in Kashmir, which he did with great credibility and courage. But also Iran is sadly mistaken in its understanding of the Quran and what the Quran says about the development and use of nuclear power. The Quran has spoken, I think it is in Surah Al-Anfal, where Allah has said, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, and strangely so. A student of international relations is not supposed to quote scripture. You lose your credentials amongst the godless world of scholarship. I don't care 2 peanuts. I quote the Quran. You don't like it, you go your way and leave me alone. I have survived so far in the world of scholarship. Allah has said in the Quran, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُم مَّا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. Allah has commanded that we must build power. Power in this context is military power. And that power must be built to the extent that it can function as a deterrent. The Soviet Union followed that order of the Quran. When the Soviet Union developed nuclear power and nuclear weapons, and the nuclear weapons of the Soviet Union have functioned effectively so as a deterrent. Korea did the same thing, and successfully so. And Pakistan, to its credit, did the same thing successfully so. If Pakistan had not created a nuclear deterrent, Pakistan would have already disappeared from the map of the world. It is the nuclear deterrent which has kept Pakistan alive so far. But you now have a new leader in India who said, nuclear power is not going to stop me. My objective is to undo the partition of Bharat, of India, which occurred in 1947, and with Israel's help, India plans to undo the partition of 1947. This is very clear now to me. This is a mistake that Iran's scholarship has made. Number one, in its understanding of the role of India in international affairs. And number two, its misunderstanding of the Quran on the subject of the development of nuclear power as a deterrent. This is Iran's mistake, but Russia is also making other mistakes.
You talked about Sergei Lavrov, Russian foreign minister, and there appears to be a certain degree of ambiguity on the part of the Russians when it comes to Iran and Pakistan and India, especially this region, what we call South Asia or the global South, we like to say. But at the same time, they have a very clear vision. At least they seem to have a very clear vision about the Eurasian bloc, and for which we also have indications they have offered to rebuild Pakistan's steel mill in Karachi and all that. So they're showing some interest in Pakistan. How do you see this unfolding in the future? Can countries like Russia, Iran, even Pakistan and India, can they afford to maintain certain level of neutrality, and they can have connections on both sides, left and right? And what Jaishankar, the Indian External Affairs Minister, said, that we are trying to maintain the delicate balance between Iran and Israel. Is that delicate balance even possible in the world? The world as it is unfolding.
I was a 22-year-old student traveling all the way from the Caribbean island of Trinidad 1 year earlier to Al-Azhar University in Egypt. I spent 1 year in Egypt, and I was not satisfied that I will get the education that I wanted to get at Al-Azhar University. And I was planning to leave when I was invited by Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, to come to Pakistan. And that is the most sensible decision I ever took in my life, to leave Egypt and to leave Al-Azhar University, the most famous and the most important institution of Islamic learning in the world, to travel to Pakistan at that time when Pakistan was only a teenager. Pakistan was born only 17 years earlier. And I studied in Pakistan for 6 to 7 years. At the Karachi University, yes, that was important. But far more important than studies at the Karachi University of Philosophy, where I studied Iqbal, was my studies at the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Pakistan, in Karachi, where I had to study subjects like the philosophy of history that no Darul Uloom ever teaches. I had to study the philosophy of science at the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies, etc. It was while I was in Pakistan that Kissinger wove his magical wand, as he did in 1974, to bring the petrodollar into being. Kissinger made his trip to China via Pakistan. And because this was the United States of America, the Pakistanis were very happy. Let me repeat it for those who are dumb and understanding, deficient in understanding. It was because the initiative had come from the United States of America that Pakistan accommodated Kissinger. And in the wake of that visit to China, the relationship with Pakistan and China was not only cemented, it became a bedrock of Pakistan's policies and international relations. And it has been beneficial for Pakistan. The unbreakable bond between Pakistan and China. In the 1970s, there were many of those in Pakistan who were critical of Pakistan's relationship with the communist state of China. And I was there participating and listening to all the debates. But in the end, good sense prevailed. And it is because Pakistan did not do with Russia the same thing that Pakistan did with China. Because of the United States of America, because of an obsession, that's all I can call it, an obsession of those who have ruled Pakistan politically and militarily, that they always have to be, excuse my violent language, but I'm an old man now and I'm sick and fed up of duplicity. The shoeshine boys of the United States all these years. How do you expect Russia and the Soviet Union to respond? India never did that. Jawaharlal Nehru shows a different route. Jawaharlal Nehru was never a shoeshine boy of either Washington or Moscow. India followed a foreign policy from day one of maintaining good relations with both Russia and China. It is possible that one of the reasons, not the only one, why India has followed this very sensible policy has been India's undying reluctance to accept Pakistan, the existence of the state of Pakistan. Gandhi accepted it, reluctantly so, but Gandhi accepted its sincerity. But the Indian National Congress appears not to have ever accepted its sincerity. And that's why when Pakistan was born, on the day that Pakistan was born, Muslims were being slaughtered like dogs on the streets of Delhi. Muslims were being slaughtered publicly like dogs on the streets of Delhi. And Gandhi was the only one who could stop it. He decided he was going to fast until death if they did not stop killing Muslims. Okay? So it was possible that India's foreign policy is dictated by its reluctance to accept the emergence of Pakistan as an independent state. But my question to you is, how do you expect Russia to respond to a Pakistan which has consistently functioned as a shoeshine boy of the United States?
So, Sheikh Sahib, you are saying that there was no real threat from the USSR to Pakistan when Pakistan took the American side in 1979. Is that what you are telling us?
The Pakistani profile has always been pro-American. The Pakistani profile seems to be addicted to being pro-American. And this has played to the benefit of India until one day the Pakistanis can wake up. Yes, there was a Pakistani leader yesterday who had the courage, as no one else has had the courage to say, that Pakistan will not fight America's wars for America anymore. And guess what Pakistan did to him? They put him in jail. There was a leader yesterday in Pakistan who denounced America's occupation, military occupation of Afghanistan. And when the Americans had to flee from Afghanistan, I was in I was in Islamabad lecturing that day in Islamabad when the United States left. And the Pakistani leader said, to his credit, the courageous statement that no Pakistani would ever make a leader or military or political leader, that Afghanistan has broken the shackles of slavery. Guess what Pakistan did to that leader? They put him in jail. Tell me, is Putin a fool? Is Putin a fool? Does the Russian leadership not know and see what is happening in Pakistan? That you no longer have in Pakistan leaders who are men of integrity and courage? This is the price that Pakistan is paying. They set traps for Pakistan, and these sheep and cattle who are leaders walk into the trap. It is now possible for me to say confidently what I could not say previously. I said that the terrorist attack in Kashmir was either engineered by the Indians itself, it was a false flag attack, or by the Kashmiri resistance, it was a false flag attack, or it was done from the Pakistan side, or it was a third party. This was my initial reaction. I eventually dismissed the possibility that Kashmiris had themselves done it and destroyed the Kashmiri economy. And I said if anyone from Pakistan had done it, he was a fool to do it, because only India had benefited and Israel had benefited.
Where do you see Pakistan standing today? Today means the present, in the aftermath of Israel-Iran conflict.
The answer is that it is now clear for those who have a capacity to combine the dots. Responsible for the Kashmiri massacre, the false flag attack of terrorism. And all the Kashmiri people said that to me before I said it myself. And that that India was therefore complicit in the attack on Pakistan. That they didn't care for an international commission to inquire into who committed the act. That was not this. The Indian foreign minister lacks the credibility to do such a thing, because he is complicit as well. They used the terrorist attack in Kashmir in order to launch an attack on Pakistan, which was a prelude to Israel's attack on Iran. It was meant to probe Pakistan. It was meant to neutralize Pakistan's capacity to be able to raid the skies, to know that an attack is coming. It was also meant to compromise Pakistan's capacity to enter into such a war to help Iran. So there was collusion between Israel and India. Number one, in the terrorist attack in Kashmir, and number two, in India's attack on Pakistan as a prelude to Iran's attack on Pakistan. Sorry, on India, on Israel, on Iran. Now then, how did Pakistan respond to that war? The Americans set a trap for Pakistan. They knew that they were going to attack Iran on such and such a day to destroy the nuclear plants which were underground and in the mountains that Israel could not seek to destroy. Whether those plants were destroyed or not, we don't know. But what is important is the Americans knew they were going to do it, and they wanted to neutralize Pakistan. So what they did, they set a trap for the Pakistani chief of staff of the armed forces, and he walked into the trap despite being a Hafiz of the Quran. Yes, he should have declined an invitation to have lunch with Trump at a time when Iran is about to be attacked. But he accepted the invitation, he went and he enjoyed his lunch, and the next day, United States attacked Iran. Will Afghanistan ever trust the Pakistan? Will you ever um, criticize Iran or Afghanistan if they never ever trust the Pakistan again? You can't blame them. You can't blame Iran and you cannot blame Afghanistan if they choose to keep their distance from a Pakistan which is behaving in such a silly way.
But it was just yesterday that the Irani chief of army staff called Field Marshal Asim Munir and thanked him for his support during the conflict. It doesn't look too bad.
No. I'm talking about trusting. I'm not talking about diplomatic courtesies. Kindly make a distinction between the two. There's something called diplomatic courtesies and there's something called strategic ties. Strategic ties, Iran will build it any day with Russia. Yes.
That Field Marshal Asim Munir and the Iranians were not on board with each other. They had no communication with each other before Field Marshal Saab accepted the lunch invitation from President Trump.
I do not know, and no one knows. What I do know is it has made Pakistan look so foolish in the eyes of the whole world, but particularly so in the eyes of Russia and China. And India must be celebrating because a wedge is now placed permanently so between Iran and Pakistan that you should accept an invitation for lunch with Trump on the day before Trump attacked Iran with bombs to destroy the Iranian plants. This is enough for my explanation and my criticism of Pakistani foreign policy. I look forward to the day when Pakistan will have a leadership like it had when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, despite his weaknesses, despite his mistakes, that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto stood up with incredible courage and integrity when the 1973 war took place and the price of oil leapt up by 400%, and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto recognized that this was an opening, a window in international affairs. And with incredible speed, he was able to contact King Faisal, and the Pakistan Foreign Ministry made night into day. They slept on the floor, and they were able to pull off the Lahore Islamic Summit Conference. The Shah of Iran was terrified. Indira Gandhi was terrified. The West was terrified. And Bhutto paid the price for it. But the Lahore Islamic Conference took place.
Paid a price. I want to draw your attention to the recent SCO meeting of defense ministers that took place in China last week. An important thing came out from the meeting. The 4 defense ministers from Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan, they sat in a separate room had had a conversation which is not reported at all. So, do you see that these four countries are on their way to develop a bloc in the future? China, Russia,
No,
Pakistan, and Iran?
no, no,
No.
I don't see it so long as Pakistan is led by those who are shoeshine boys of Washington. My language is violent. My language is attacking them very seriously. But something has to be done to win freedom for Pakistan. The people of Pakistan displayed themselves very publicly that they don't have freedom in the elections. They all rigged the elections. If Pakistan had a free election and they had the leadership that the people wanted, the leader would not be in jail today. I say that Iran, yes, Iran will build a strategic relationship with China. Iran will build a strategic relationship with Russia. I can close my eyes because Russia and China would trust Iran. For the relationship between China and Pakistan, it is the politics of convenience. It is convenient for Chinese foreign policy, economic and political, to maintain a friendly relationship and a certain alliance with Pakistan. But that is not going to be to the extent of a strategic alliance. A strategic alliance is that if you attack me, you attack them as well.
But how can we be so certain that whatever happened at the lunch in Washington was unfavorable for Iran?
It was unfavorable for Iran because Iran did not have a deterrent power. Iran must now change their policy. Pakistan also has Islamic scholars, yes, but no Pakistani scholar has disagreed with Bhutto when Bhutto decided. It was February 1974 that the Lahore Islamic Summit Conference took place, and 2 months later, Indira Gandhi responded to the Lahore Islamic Summit Conference. It was April 1974 that India exploded a nuclear test, and India became a nuclear power. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto then announced with great courage and credibility that even if we have to eat grass, Pakistan must become a nuclear power. We're waiting for Iran to show the same political insight and religious integrity that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto displayed in April 1974. Because Iran has not done that so far, Iran has lost this war with Israel.
Yeah. So, okay, the last question for today. Don't you think that Narendra Modi of India is trying to shine the shoe brighter than anybody else in the world? Washington shoes.
I believe that the end of history, or Akhir Zaman, will display an uncanny resemblance between Indian foreign policy and Israeli foreign policy. I delivered a lecture on this subject to the university. I think it's called the Garrison University in Lahore on this subject. It's a subject in which you have eschatology at work to show the parallel between India's Modi and Israel's Netanyahu, that they are both walking on the same road in the end time, and therefore their destiny is to build a closer and closer relationship with each other, no matter how much the foreign minister tries to hide it. That they're two sides of the same coin. And if I am correct, that India was complicit in Israel's attack on Iran by the attack on Pakistan, the two were combined together. And it was meant to both probe and to compromise Pakistan in anticipation of the attack on Iran. We can expect tomorrow where India will work hand in hand with Israel and with the United States to denuclearize Pakistan. I've been saying this for many, many years now. And yet the Pakistani leadership still remains shoeshine boys of Washington. What can we do with a people who have lost the capacity to think and have no integrity anymore left?
Thank you very much, Sheikh Imran,
You're welcome.
for your
You're
time,
welcome. Okay.
for speaking so candidly, so openly with us.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Thank you very much for watching. Khuda Hafiz, Pakistan Zindabad.